Okay, guys, so if you are going to be creating your graphs, let me show you what you would do in Microsoft Excel to create graphs. Okay, now I'm doing it on a Mac, but there's going to be similar menu options and certainly the data options are the same if you're using a PC computer. Okay, so first of all, the tricky part is setting up the data table. After that, it's all very easy, okay? But remember, let's say you want, if you look at the data table that I've put up here, I want to graph wood, glass, lead, and aluminum. The data that you get from your lab, you want all four of those lines on the same graph, okay, so that you can look at them. And that's important for comparison. So here's how I've set this up. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a column that's titled volume milliliters. Um, just do one column. Now, this could be mass, okay, but I've chosen volume just because. Okay, the way you're plotting mass versus volume, you can either have one mass column and then four volume columns, or one volume column and four mass columns. I've chosen one volume column and then a mass column for each of these. These up here do not play in part of the graph. These are just for me to know what I'm going to put in these columns here. The wood, glass, lead, and aluminum right down here, these underneath the mass items, these are going to be the labels that will show up on your graph, and you'll see that in a minute. So if you kind of look at this format here, okay, I would set it up this way. So one under each here. I just put this buffer row in between just so that I didn't get them confused. Okay, so for example, wood. And I want to be clear, this is just made up data. I'm just showing you how to graph. I am not using real data. Again, I am not using real data, so please don't look at my data and say, gee, should I have gotten those data? No, I'm just doing this to show you how to graph. Okay, so for the first thing, let's say wood. I'm going to plot my data points. Okay, let's say wood was the one that had the smallest. Well, actually, you know what? Let's actually go over here. Let's say glass had the smallest volume. Okay, let's say there was a volume of 1.2 milliliters. And let's say the glass at 1.2 milliliters was 4 grams. I don't know, again, just making it up. Let's say the next glass one, let's say the next largest one was wood, and maybe the next largest one for wood was 2.3 milliliters, and let's say it was 4 grams as well, okay? Let's say the next largest one was your aluminum, and let's say that was 5 grams, and your aluminum at 5 grams, excuse me, 5 milliliters, at 5 milliliters it weighed 9 grams or something. And then we'll go here, let's go for wood. We're just going to do 2 points for each. The next wood one, let's say it was 6, and we'll go for let's go 13. Okay, so that's our 2 woods. Glass, let's say we had 1.2 and 4, and let's go 8, even though I'm sure it wasn't like that. 8 and 27. Okay, and then lead. We haven't done any lead yet. Lead, let's go for 10 grams and as 10 milliliters, pardon me. Okay, and we'll go 30. And then aluminum, let's go 12 milliliters and 25. And then how many do I have to do? One more for lead. Let's go for 15 and 45. Okay, so here's the key. Notice that I started off with my smallest measurement and then I gradually worked the way up. So whatever your data tables represent, from the smallest volume of these to the largest volume, you want this volume column to represent the whole range where you find all these at. And then you just put these data points where they go, okay? So I want you to look at this, and this is kind of how it has to be set up if you're going to be able to create a good graph, okay? So once you have that, and again, I want to be clear, this column here could be one mass column with 4 volume columns. It depends on which one you want on the x-axis and which one you want on the y-axis. I tend to think in this lab it might be easier just to go ahead and put volume here, okay? But the tricky part, as I've shown you, is making sure that this range here goes from the smallest to the largest in one column, and then these other 4 columns are going to represent the data points that you're going to plot for each of those 4 substances. Okay, so take a look at how I organize that. Okay, now again, you took 3 measurements on each of these. I'm just putting 2 just because. Okay, so now that I've got my data table organized, I simply highlight the section of data that I want to graph. I don't want these labels up here, these masses and volume. That's just for me to keep track. This is the area that I'm interested in. So I'm going to highlight the wood, glass, lead, and aluminum, and then this volume column here, and then everything that's contained within. Now watch what happens. It's very simple. Notice up here in Excel, there's several tabs. Now I have home and layout and tables, but here, charts. If I look at charts, I have all these different types of graphs or charts. Okay, now you've read about them. There's lines and columns, bar charts and pie charts and kind of stuff. Here's scatter. Remember, scatter is the science plot. Okay, the scatter graph is the one I want. So I'm going to click on scatter, and it gives me several options. I don't want lines in my data, and neither should you. You want just the points. Okay, so if I click marked scatter, it's going to generate a graph. I'm going to move it over. And here's the graph. Okay, and what it's going to do is, if you notice, it's going to put these 2 points. Notice each one of these items had 2 points. It's going to make 2 points for each of the items, okay, that I have on here, and it's going to scale the graph. And notice over here the series. It gave blue, it assigned the color blue to wood, red to glass, green triangles to lead, and this purple X to aluminum. And so this is how you would start looking at the data, and it tells you when you have your points. Now again, with 3 points or more, you'll be able to see a little bit better picture, but all of a sudden right now, if you set up your data table correctly, automatically your graph gets these what we call series, and you can tell which points go with which, okay, and then you can start doing your best fit lines through here, etc., and labeling. Now, the last thing here is I look at my chart and I say, well, I'd like a title and axes labels, okay? And if I look at my x-axis, notice it goes up to 16. Your x-axis here is going to be your volume, and your y-axis, it goes all the way up to 50. Since we had, masses that were up here to like 45, this is the y-axis is going to be your mass in grams, right? So if I go up here and I go chart layout, actually not that one, I think it's format. Oops. I have to find it. Oh, here we go. If you look here under charts, same place, I'm sorry, I didn't need to click out of that. In charts, if you go over here, you'll see several, I see several options in this part of the graph showing you ways to set it up. I'm going to click this one right here, this layout 1. And at layout 1, it gives me these titles, the title on the top, and then labels for my axes. So watch what happens if I just click right here on my y-axis. Remember, y-axis was your mass in grams. And I go up here, oops, to your data entry point, and I simply put mass in grams, and I click enter. It changes this to mass in grams. If I click the x-axis label, and I go up here and I enter in the data entry point, and I put volume in milliliters, okay, and I click enter, it changes that. And then of course the chart title, I go up here and do the same thing, mass versus volume, and I click it. Now I've got a nice looking graph. Now watch what I can do. I can make it larger. Okay, there we go. And I start being able to mess around a little bit with some of the options, and you can change the colors and all these. But I think that's the basic stuff that would help you make sure and have a good graph. Okay, with axes labels with your units, your data points all on the same graph in the series. Here are your series. So you would know that if you're going to draw a best fit line for glass, you're only going to be paying attention to the red squares. If you're going to draw the line through wood, you're going to be paying attention to the blue diamonds, okay? It's like drawing Lucky Charms graphs, right? And then, of course, we have the green triangles here for lead and the purple X's for aluminum, all right? So they're all on one graph. I'm going to make the graph smaller again now. And again, there is your data table and how you set it up in order to get this kind of graph that you can then copy and paste into your lab report along with this nice data table that's all bunched together now and will work well for you. Okay, so there you go.